911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something that looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
It seems to be a Bigfoot leaning against a tree in a wooded area.
I have seen plenty of people with big feet, but not Bigfoot.
Tree lines and brush, he sees about a 7 and 7.5 foot tall Sasquatch looking back at him.
Kind of looks like a wolf, but not like a neighborhood dog.
Take these stories for what they are in hopes that maybe if it's out there, then show me.
Yeah. And says he might have caught the mythical chupacabra creature terrorizing his chickens.
Like a grunt and a knock. It's like a...
I think there's kind of a cultural tendency for people to want to make Bigfoot a quote-unquote monster.
Welcome to ECBRO Bigfoot Radio.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ECBRO Bigfoot Radio. We're back after taking about a week break. You get let some of the new people get caught up on what we got going on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another special guest. I want to welcome Mr. Wayne with us. Wayne, you got to forgive me. I'm afraid I'm going to mix your last name up. You want to go ahead and throw that out there?
Yeah, man, it's Tutherow, Wayne Tutherow.
Tutherow. Okay. See, I'm glad I did because I think I would have said it a little different. So I'm actually glad I had you do that.
Yeah, man, I put up with it my whole life. People have butchered it, so I'm used to it. You could have said whatever, and I'd have went with it.
Oh yeah. But it's like same with my name. Like some people, they'll see the spelling of it. A lot of them know. Oh, Benoit. Yes, it's Benoit. But I've had it pronounced like I've been in the doctor's office, with my parents when I was younger. I've heard a name pronounced with letters that don't even exist in it, so like Benog, like kind of like saying eggnog, but Benog. I said, what, these are educated people. How are they getting this translation they're coming up with, I don't know. But, well, first of all, thank you for being here, man. I know you are a very busy man between your podcast that you run and host, and then your children. So you're quite the juggling act. You got a lot going on here. So.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate you having me, Daniel. You and I have known each other for a little while. You've been on my show a couple times, and glad to hang out with you for a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. So now I know you hear a lot of stories. I mean, there's so many. I'm not sure if you could pinpoint on anything right off the top of your head. But one thing I do want to ask you, which I like to ask other radio hosts and podcast hosts, because we all hear a lot of stories, and it's kind of what I want to get into, like talking about the various stories and the accounts that we get to hear, and that even as podcast hosts, in one way or another, we actually get to investigate some of these by questioning and interviewing our guests. So. But I wanted to ask you, while I'm thinking about it at the top of my head, could you recall, what's the most intense story or something that you consider kind of on the scary side? Is there anything in particular that you could think of off the top of your head that stands out? It could
Absolutely.
Be a previous show or, how about, go ahead and feel free to throw that out there.
Daniel, I've been asked this a couple of times, and I always go back to the same encounter. Didn't happen to me, and oddly enough, it was one of the first ones that I ever took. One of the first encounters I ever took. I am, for those of you, your listeners out there that don't know me, I do host a couple of podcasts, but before that, I founded a Sasquatch research organization, back in 2019 called Manimal Research. And what I did when I got that started was, and a lot of people laugh at this, to get it going, I put an ad on Craigslist to kind of reach out in my area to gauge interest. Would you want to be a part of this organization, help me go out in the woods and look for this thing? And have you yourself had any experiences? I'd like to hear about them. And one of the very first ones that ever reached out to me has been probably the most memorable. and like you said, most intense, and just had me on the edge of my seat. And I'll share it with you guys now. It was just absolutely crazy. I live in Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee. There is a state park here in Tennessee that's more in the middle of not in the middle of the state, but it's kind of like northwest of me. And the gentleman asked me not to give up the name of the state park, so I haven't done that, and I won't do that here. But he texts me. I leave my number on Craigslist, and he texts me, and he starts the text with, "If you want to see Bigfoot, this is where you go." And immediately that had my attention. You know, just it just seemed different from all the other stuff I was getting. And so I respond to him, and we get this talk going, and he proceeds to tell me this story. He and his wife, they like to go hiking, and they live not very far from this state park. And they go just where they like to go and hike. They were in a different part of the park that they had never been before, and they found this little trail, and it was at the end of a cul-de-sac, a dead end road. So they find it, they get out, they hike, and the whole time they're out there, they just have this feeling of being watched and feeling of dread. No, just something's not right. You know, we've all had those feelings in the woods. I know you have, Daniel. I have too.
Oh yeah.
So they just they can't get over this feeling, so they kind of cut their hike short and head back. They get in their car and they start to leave. As they're pulling out, there's this pickup truck coming toward them, and he flies by them, going faster than normal than you should have on that road. So it kind of gets their attention. So they kind of stop and they watch, you know, a little bit further out where he couldn't see them. This guy pulls around in the cul-de-sac, gets out of his truck, grabs this 50-pound bag of dry dog food out of the back of his truck, sets it down, pulls out his pocket knife, slits the top of it, dumps it upside down, dumps every bit of it out, and then throws the bag in his truck and starts to leave. Well, they didn't want to get caught watching him, so they left, you know, before he could catch up to him. But the whole week, they're wondering, what the hell is this guy feeding? You know, is he feeding bears? Are there stray, like, feral wild dogs that he's feeding? I mean, what is going on? They can't get it out of their mind. So they decide they're going to do this test the next weekend. They go and they buy the same brand of dog food that, you know, you can tell what brand it is from a good ways away. They knew what kind of brand dog food it was. They buy the same quantity, the same bag, everything. They go back out there to the same spot and they do the same thing. They cut it open, flip it over, dump it out. They get in their car and drive up the road a little bit. They kind of hide their car. They get out with their they have the backpacks on and everything, and they walk into the woods, and they just sit there and watch. And, you know, Daniel, you know as well as I do, we all have a BS meter. You know, when someone's telling us one, you can kind of tell when someone's making something up, when they're full of crap. You know, this guy, this guy, I never, my BS meter never went off. He seemed genuine. He was down to earth, a good old boy, Tennessee boy. I liked him, and I don't think he was lying to me. He and his wife get out, and they walk into the woods, and they're watching. He said they're there about an hour, and they're getting ready. They're just going to leave because nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, they hear this scream, and it catches them off guard. It's like a howl scream kind of thing. They'd never heard it before. And not long after that scream, up on top of the ridge above the dog food, they see this thing, this huge thing, come on top of the ridge. He said it's brown, it's all covered in hair, shaggy. It looks rough, he says. It throws its head back and starts to sniff, kind of like a dog would.
Oh.
You know? Yeah, like a kind of thing. And then it was on 2 legs the whole time, walking bipedal. It walks down to this pile of dog food, crouches down, throws its head back, and lets out another scream. And after it does that, it just starts shoveling this stuff into its mouth, just eating it, just handfuls. And when he let out the scream, they're already freaking out. They don't know what to do. On top of that same ridge, 3 more of these things.
I felt that coming right there. Yep.
A big one and 2 smaller ones. They show up to the top. They start making their way down. By the time they got down there, if I remember correctly, the big one had already had his fill. He kind of stood up, and then the other 3 got down there and started eating the same thing, the same way. Just shoveling the stuff into their mouth. And he said the whole bag was gone in no time. Something, I don't remember exactly what happened, that his wife let out a gasp or something happened, but it drew the attention of the bigger one to them, and all of a sudden he sees them. He starts to give chase, and they are freaking the out. They start running back to the car. He tells me the only reason they're here today, in his opinion, he pulled his .357 off of his hip and fired 2 shots into the ground as they were running. And he thinks that gave them enough time. That scared them or whatever, enough for them to make it to their car. And they got in and they sped out. This guy was dead serious. You could just tell in his voice, the way he was talking, that I just felt like this really happened. I don't know. But probably that's the most intense, the scariest, I would say. Most of my personal encounters I've never had a personal encounter, anything like that. But the ones that I hear, I haven't heard one that aggressive. So that one sticks out to me.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I tend to believe that one myself, because I was like, kind of like, even though I don't even know where this park is, I don't even know the layout, I just got this visual of the couple parking the car, hiking in, and then the dog food, and like this. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I had this visual of seeing the scenario kind of like taking place. It's very interesting. So, and as I've told other people before, when I hear people sharing their stories, to me, I'm sitting there and I get like very zoned into it, like, and this doesn't happen all the time, but I believe just the story, and I guess maybe it has a lot to do with how it's being told, but at the same time, I tend to like get these visions of, like, I get so drawn into it. It's just like reading a good book. If you're really into the book and you're following the book, and you start visualizing the story as it's as you're reading into it, So
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, I tend to get the same way with these stories when people are verbally sharing their information. So even though stories, it's anecdotal evidence. It's just, even though that we feel that they are legit, I wish there was a way we could prove them more sometimes. Like, there's so many stories.
I do too, Daniel. I agree with you. And people, I've been dealing with a lot of people like on social media lately that talk about anecdotal evidence is not evidence, and I disagree.
Same here. Yeah.
Disagree, because in my opinion, and I've said this so many times, I think you'll agree with me, doing what you and I do, the best way that we have right now to learn about these things, and you're boots on the ground, I'm boots on the ground as well, but in my opinion, the best way that we have to learn about these creatures, these beings, whatever they are, right now, is by listening to people that have encountered them.
Absolutely.
I understand that there's dishonest people out there. There are people that just make crap up for attention. So
exactly,
it makes it hard. It does. But there are genuine people out there. There are people that are experiencing something that they just can't explain. And short of having one or two of these things in captivity for us to study and learn from, the best way is to talk to people that have witnessed them in their own environment. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, for sure. No, it's like I get reports. Like I just got a recent report just a few days ago from a gentleman that had his sighting just about a week ago, but that wasn't here in Virginia. That actually took place in South Carolina. And the thing is, this guy shared all his information, and I was really getting pumped. And the thing is, I was like, oh man, I said, I wanted to go down there. I really do. And the thing is, I can't because, like the situation my situation that I'm involved in right now. And I usually do get down to South Carolina, but usually it's not till October, because I usually speak at that event down there. They have the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival. And that's the only time I could really get down there is during that time. And, it's like I told him, I said, man, you don't know how bad I want to get down there. But I told him, I said, look, I asked him on the phone when we were talking, and I said, you trust me enough to share this information with me. I said, I know some really good people down in South Carolina. I said, would you be okay if I make contact with them and share your story with them and then give them your contact information for them to reach you? Because I said, these are people that they're probably about 2 hours from you, give or take, but I know these people really take this seriously like I do. And, I said, the first person I'm going to contact, yeah, he's like kind of like a smaller, but he's smaller than me. But he's also an older brother. He's much older than me too. So, but he's retired law enforcement, former Marine. This guy, he's a very laid back, down to earth, but he takes all this seriously himself, so. But so this guy, Steven, who I spoke to, I'll mention his name, Steven, who gave me his story of what he saw on his property. So Steven let me, make contact. So I get these reports and everything, and it's like I've gotten reports from other states. People want to reach out to me and share their stories. Like, oh, I never shared this with anybody, but I learned about you and this and that, and I reach out to people because like some of these stories come from like out of state. I was like, oh man, I said, I'm in Virginia. I said, I'm glad that you reached out to me, that you learned about. I said, I love that. I said, would you like to have it checked out? And, like I'll know people in certain states. If I don't, I'll reach out to people that might know people in those states. Like, hey, do you know somebody that might want to check this out? Stuff like that.
Yeah, Daniel, it's not to interrupt you, bud, but it's so funny that you're bringing this up. Do you remember last year you sent me?
Yeah, I knew it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, fill me the deal. I don't like. I know what you're talking about, but it's like I deal with so much. I don't remember the details of certain things sometimes.
Nikki Cologne, I think.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, because I think she was the one that. Yeah.
Yeah, you contacted me about it because it happened in Tennessee, and I'm here in Tennessee. And I actually have one of my members, one of my probably my best investigator right now, Mr. Kevin Jones, that lived in the area. He was out there the next day following up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, following up on that investigation. Unfortunately, nothing come of it. It didn't pan out. He couldn't find any evidence, and where this actually happened, it wasn't near any woods. He thinks if they saw something, and he believes they saw something, but it was more of a paranormal thing because they were nowhere near any kind of forested area. There were no footprints. There were no and the typical stuff you look for, broken branches and like down shrubbery and stuff.
Yeah.
There was none of that in the area. So he thinks it was more of a paranormal thing. But yeah, it's funny that you brought that up because I'm living proof that you're being honest. You sent me.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, you sent me an investigation last year.
Well, that's cool because sometimes I forget who I make contact with sometimes because like who I reach out to, like, hey, I know about this there, blah blah blah. I know I've done it for friends of mine in Kentucky. I mean, I don't know what they do on there, and I can only relay the information over. As I can't be responsible if that group's going to actually go out and do it. Like,
Yeah.
if I share something, but I do that because I was like, it's the best I could do. Given the circumstances of like, I can't just jump in my car and drive, wherever. I mean, if it's like it's different. Yeah, if it's within my county, like within the surrounding area or one of the surrounding counties, like, yeah, I could plan on it and do it that way, because I really want to, especially around my area, if I am getting more reports, if activity's starting to brew up again, oh, you best believe it. I'm going to like call my fellow team members and groups, say, look, we got some reports flaring up here. You guys want to come check these out with me? So.
Yeah, I mean, but Daniel, it speaks to you and your reputation in the community that the people that aren't even in your state are contacting you to help them with their problem. So, I mean, kudos to you, man. That's really cool.
I mean, yeah, it's exciting. It is, and I always try to make time for people. It's like, I'm not going to be like one of these people. Oh, this guy down in Tennessee is calling me about his Bigfoot in his backyard. What do I care? I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So, but no, like I would want to get the information, and I would like to learn all because learning that information, especially on the descriptions, if there is a description for them to describe, and these are all things that we could all take notes of and gather little bits and pieces of information that might help us all in one way, shape, or another. Regardless, it doesn't matter who's going to go investigate that report. Hey, if they happen to capture pictures and photo evidence that's real good, kudos to them. But like I want to learn about the information. Like did somebody get attacked or chased?
Daniel, I absolutely hate all of the negativity and the fighting within the community because we all have the same goal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We want to prove that this thing is real, and if they need protection, get them that protection. I don't know that they do because we've done a pretty damn good job all this time without help from anyone else.
Yeah.
But we all have the same goal. We all need to be working together, and that's why I founded my organization, Manimal Research. We have members. I was looking today. I think we're up to almost 20, like 17, 18 members right now in like 6 different states.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're growing. We take in reports from people, kind of like you do. We have people to go out and investigate them. But that's the reason I started my organization back in 2019 because of all the negativity and the name calling and the bashing in the community. You hear about the BFRO. No matter what you think about the BFRO, they certainly have their reputation. Some love them, some hate them. They're the Dallas Cowboys of the Bigfoot world.
Yeah, I never heard it put that way, but that's pretty good though.
Yeah, in my opinion. But
yeah,
no matter what you think about them, that website, that database that they have collected and shared is invaluable. One of the first things I do if I'm going into a new area, a state, I'm going to Missouri here in October to speak at a conference. When I go into a new area, I always pull up the BFRO and I pull up that county to see how many reports have been reported, in that area. So that's an invaluable thing. But all these different organizations, instead of focusing on just their organization, why aren't we working together? Sharing.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Excuse me one second. Dad, go see Grandpa. No, he's trying to come out in the garage. Sorry, my grandson was creeping in here. All right. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
He thinks it's funny. Yeah.
I mean, if we could find a way past, and let's be honest, it's ego.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all want to be that one that does it. We all want to be that one that finds them and proves this thing is real. No, whether it be monetary gain, whether it be fame that's going to come from it, whatever it is, we all want the same thing. And I just feel like if we would all work together, we would have already been there by now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I got friends that, I mean, yeah, for some reason, I don't know, they want the attention. I mean, it's like I feel like there's certain people I know, they're like, oh man, hey, I want to be on that podcast. I was like, really, I don't care if I am. I've been on so many podcasts over the years. I've lost count. I can't keep up with them. I mean, I love sharing and spreading the word and spreading awareness because I'm big about that. But man, you do so many podcasts as far as being a guest on them. I mean, in a way, it's like it gets old. But like, hey, give me some time. Let me have some space. Then yeah, I'll start jumping back on them again. Like, but then at the same time, like I've had some where like I had 3 or 4 try to schedule me in a month. I said, could we spread this out? I said, I might end up canceling on you at the last minute because I'll be too tired to want to do this. I mean, I'm straight up and honest with them. I've been in that situation before, especially depending on my job at the time. Like you work long days, and like when I was, with Amazon, you work 10-hour plus hour days. You're driving all day long in and out of that vehicle nonstop. By the time you get done, get back to the warehouse and have to drive all the way back home, you're ready to collapse and crawl into your house when you can't make it no more.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's what people don't understand is everything that we juggle. And I mean, we just heard your grandson come in there. You talk about work and you talk about doing the Bigfoot stuff. Well, that don't include your family time.
Right. Exactly.
Time for your family, man. You can't abandon your family. The little ones, especially. You got a young grandson. I've got a young daughter. That just takes up so much of my time, and it's a balancing act, man. It really is.
Absolutely. Like my grandson right now. Normally he would be in bed if it was during the school week, but it's a weekend. We tend to let him stay up a little later. But doesn't matter. You can keep him up to midnight. He'll still be the first one up. That's like how he is. Oh man. I tell you what. Now, you mentioned as far as your experiences. I mean, what kind of experiences do you have? Have you had a sighting?
I believe that I have. I believe I've had one sighting. It was a nighttime sighting, and it was through my thermal.
Ooh.
I've not had that, classic, Class A sighting daytime that everyone wants. And man, I'm not. I believe I'll have that one day, and I cannot wait till I do. But that has not happened for me yet. But as far as the one sighting that I believe I've had, I was on a Manimal investigation. Manimal being my group.
Right.
There were 4 of us, including myself, and we were on this mountain in North Georgia, in Lafayette, Georgia. And I mentioned the BFRO earlier and their database. If you were to go to the BFRO right now and pull up that county, Walker County, Georgia, you'll see 5 encounters or 5 reports from that county. Daniel, every one of those are on this mountain.
Wow.
So that's where we head, and we're hanging out up there. And then there's so much I could tell you from this mountain. But talking about just this sighting, we get up there. There's 4 of us. It was the second time that we had ever been up there. I was with my buddy and the vice president of my organization, Derek Walls, and then 2 former members that they're no longer with us. We were up there, and it was January. I remember that because it was a few weeks after deer season ended in North Georgia. And January down here is cold.
Right.
We were cold. It was bitterly cold that night. It was in the low teens. I personally love winter camping. I would much rather camp in the winter than the summer.
Right, I'm the same way.
I can put more clothes on and stay warm. I can't get away with taking a whole lot more off. Somebody's gonna call the
Right.
cops if I take too much off. But we're out there, and this older gentleman that's no longer with us, we hear something over to our left of the camp, and this dude, he'd been doing this for over 30 years. Not a whole lot got to him. He wasn't not scared by a whole lot. He goes to over there to check it out, and he steps on this. It's not. I don't really want to call it a log. It was a down tree, so a long, old, dead tree. He steps on one side. Well, the other side was behind some shrubs. He couldn't see the other side. Well, when he stepped on it, something stepped on the other end or stepped off of the tree, and it kind of gave a little bit, like a seesaw kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
That
Wow.
told him something big was just on the other side of that brush, and it freaked him right the hell out. And he started running back, and he's scared, and he's telling us about it. And we're looking over there. I get the therm out. It's the first time all night I had gotten it out, and I start scanning it, and I find this heat signature, and it looks just like a man, like someone standing there. You can see the torso. The torso was lit up, was brighter than the rest of it. And then you clearly see 2 arms and 2 legs. And we're watching this thing sway from left to right. And they're just the classic swaying that you hear about.
Yep. Yeah. Not to cut you off real quick. If you ever hear my story, that my encounter from 2014, the first one we saw, the smallest one, there was 3 of them, by the way. The first one, it stayed swaying side to side nonstop through the whole situation. But I want to throw that in there, because I've seen that myself. So
yeah, and I remember you sharing that when you came on my show. But so this thing is swaying, and not only is this one standing up and swaying, something smaller is out in front of it, and it just looks like a blob, like a circle that turns into a rectangle, and it just, I don't know. It was like scurrying back and forth. It was never still. It was running, or almost like it was playing.
Right.
I don't know what it was. But Daniel, the weird thing about this, as if that's not weird enough, the weird thing is, I'm sure, every time I go out on an outing to do an investigation, I make sure all of my equipment is charged. I know you do the same thing. We all do it, because if you get out in the field and it's not charged, what good is it?
Exactly.
So my FLIR,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
My FLIR was charged 100%. When I got it out to film this thing, the battery was so low that I couldn't video. All I could do was take a still. I was able to get several stills of this thing, but that's how low the battery was. And then it dies. So we're not far from my truck. I run over to the truck, plug it in, and I'm standing there for a few minutes. I don't know how much time went by. It seemed like it was forever, but I got enough of a charge for it to cut back on. I run back over. It's still there, but the smaller thing isn't. It's just the taller one. And then the battery dies again. I run back to the truck to try to do it all over again, the same thing, get it to cut back on, go back over there, and it's gone. So, but I have no idea why my battery was dead.
Yeah.
You know, we've all heard so many times that these things somehow have the ability to drain batteries. I don't know how I feel about that.
Right.
But
I mean, something like that sounds like it would be actually cool to believe, but I mean, it's something like we want to believe, but come on, give us something more that would support that theory,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. But again, why was my battery dead?
Right, exactly.
It was charged 100%. Now, a lot of people have said the severe cold.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, that would make sense too. But then you have to ask, like, was my device actually in cold enough temperature that long for it to shut down like that? Or
yeah.
But
I mean, anyway, The battery died. That's all the pictures. I've still got those pictures. I share them all the time. But I'll send it to you if you want it. But yeah, that was my one sighting. We did a kind of a size comparison the next day. When the sun come up, and again, this thing being 20, 30 yards from us, I never felt fear. I never felt like I was in danger. It wasn't aggressive in any way. I went to bed that night and I slept fine with this thing right, knowing this thing was out there. But we went out there the next morning and did a size comparison, and it would have been around the 8-foot mark.
Okay, all right, very good. Yeah, very same scenario with me. I mean, I don't think no one else was really scared either, except for, like in my situation, we had Kimmy and Garen came down from Vermont that camped with us. Kimmy, she was the only one that was expressing any type of fear or nervousness during and after the situation. But I don't know if it's because like there was other people. I was with other people. I mean, that might have had something to reason. I don't know. But then again,
to do with it.
You think, yeah. See, I was going to ask you, like, how many of you guys were there during that situation?
Well, there was 4 of us.
4 of it. Okay.
Yeah, 4 grown men. And that you're right, Daniel. That probably has something to do with it. If I'd have been by myself, I'd have probably left.
Well, the reason I ask and bring all that up is because in that same section of woods with my 2014 encounter, like I said, just a year later in 2015, during the hunting season, like I said, keep in mind, same section of woods, just around the bend, just a little bit. There was another camping area I was camping at, and I didn't see nothing, but I will tell you, whatever was 20 feet. Well, first of all, the tree line was like 20 feet away. But whatever was inside that tree line that was bipedal and very large and heavy walking away from me, even though I didn't see it, that had the fear in me. My heart was up in my throat pounding away, like, because it was so close. You could hear it and almost feel it inside you. But, I was by myself. That was a different scenario. That was one of the few times I had felt fear. But as I walked backwards and got back into my camp, I instantly, the whole situation, the whole thing just kind of like, like it was relieved. I got comfortable again, because I came to the realization, well, whatever that was going away from me. If it meant any harm, it had every opportunity to come sack me like a football player. But
if it wanted to harm you, you wouldn't be here talking to me right now.
Yeah, because I was by myself. There was nobody in the area. Normally there's other people in the other primitive camp spots that do camp out there during the hunting season. But where I was at, there was nobody else around. So I know it wasn't a person. Because just prior to that, well, long story short, just prior to both situations from 14 and 15, it was deer present right there before those scenarios took place. But so that's something else I always question. Did I interrupt something? Were we interrupting a possible hunt? I don't know. Can't prove that, but that's something I look back on a lot. So,
yeah.
But,
yeah.
So.
And there's certainly been times that I've been in the woods and I've been scared with other people. But this time, I can't explain it, man. I wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't want to speculate too much, but maybe it was the fact that I was with 3 other men. But I've been with men in the woods before too, and been freaked out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like sometimes the other thing that may give you fear too is because well, the one thing, like I've been in situations where I've been in totally new areas that were like out in the middle of nowhere. Even though they're within your state, these are locations I've never been to before. Yeah. And you're surrounded by heavily dense forests and woods. And like, if something was to happen, you could scream your lungs out. Nobody's going to hear you out here in these areas, And, but yeah, those are other areas I've had some fear and nervousness go on too, because I've had things happen around my campsite that I can't explain. Like, what the heck was that? You didn't want to hang around to find out what was cracking that big limb right behind your tent, and there's no wind at all. Yeah. Situations like that, But
now, Daniel, let me ask you. We're talking about camping and having other people with us. Do you do a whole lot of solo camping?
Yeah, I've always done solo camping.
I can't
You
do
know,
it, man. I can't. I've never done it, and I mean, I've done it once in a campground. But as far as
oh,
like primitive, like out there, just you know, crapping like the bears in the woods, you know,
oh, yeah.
nothing around. Do you do that?
Oh yeah, I actually do what they call stealth camping. I started putting some of it on camera, but I haven't done any. You know, it's been a little while since I've been back down from Pennsylvania. But 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 there's most of my camping has always been solo. You know, but then again, I started doing the group thing because one, you know, some of the people that come out and join our group camping, they're not so. I want to say they're not. I don't want to say they're not so educated, but there's a lot of information and a lot of stuff that they don't get to see on a daily. So we like to invite
Oh,
people to come out,
they're
and
new,
so
or they're green
right,
at it. Yeah.
right. So I like people that are on my team, like my friend Melissa and David, which their husband and wife. David's retired from the military. Also, he's got two. He's retired from two careers, military and the local police department. Him and his wife met back when they were in the army. She was a military cop, you know, and and having their expertise and their training along with what we do in the field, it's awesome because she does a lot of studies on plants and edible plants and everything you can do think of when it comes to plants, what you could use for medicine, what will this do. She's amazing. She'll point at every little thing like, what, really, wow. There's things I've learned and I can't put a finger on it because she's amazing. But just them to have out there, they're very educational, they're very informative. That's what we like to do. We like, hey, the more we could have people out there and they can learn from that, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but it's like even when we go hiking, exploring, we come across a lot of interesting structures and formations. Like, we like to take the time to look them over, and even though we can't rule out certain things, I mean, there's some of these structures and formations that we like to believe that Bigfoot made them, but
Yeah.
regardless if we can't prove that he did it, and we can't prove that he didn't do it. So we like
Exactly.
to take pictures and document these things. Like, hey, let's put it to the public. This is what we're finding. We're not saying what it is or what did it, blah blah blah. But hey, we're going to share with you guys what we find. But you can
Yeah.
believe whatever you want it to be, but this is what we find. So,
And
the one thing.
what is it
Oh, go
about
ahead.
law enforcement that gets involved in this community? 'Cause you just mentioned those two people, the husband and wife. They were former law enforcement and military. I've
Right.
got I've got I think three current or former law enforcement, and then like two or three other that were former military that are interested
Okay.
in this subject. And my partner, I host Paranormal Odyssey, which was started by Brian King Sharp, who is the host of Sasquatch Odyssey, probably the second or third biggest Bigfoot podcast in the world. He's ex law enforcement, and Brian and I co-host that Bigfoot podcast.
Oh, that's right.
But
He is. Yeah, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
ex law enforcement. I mean,
Cool.
what is it about cops that draw them to this subject? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, the only thing I could think of, which I'm gonna have to talk to David next time I have him on, because he just started joining podcasts for the first time. I've had him on a couple of my little group roundtable discussions, and I'll have to write that question down just for him. And that should be an interesting response. But my honest opinion, I just quickly thinking off the top of my head, well, you got to consider their training. I mean, they were in the army. Think about the training, the education that they have gotten. And any kind of experience they have gotten along the way through very routine situations.
So just like the investigative aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that has a lot to do with it. It's just I think they want to put they know they're alert. Um, it's just they're trained to be alert. They're trained to be observant, and I guess they have this. I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's hard to really throw it out there.
Yeah.
that
No,
really
I get
explain.
it.
Yeah,
It's
but
something to think about, you know?
yeah, I again, I need to try to remember to ask David that. Let him and his wife Melissa
Whatever it
respond to that.
whatever it is, they make excellent researchers.
Oh yeah, I mean, because David and Melissa, they don't have no encounters. They never seen anything. Um, but they have a very clear but yet open mind on a lot of stuff. Um, now at one of our previous group campouts in my main research area. Now I've been whooped at right behind my tent before too, in that same area several years ago, back in 2013. Something whooped at us, me and the guy I was camping with. Um, but this happened on the other side of the river in the other campsite when Melissa and David. This is probably the second or third time they camped with us. Um, and Melissa was up 2 o'clock, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. She had to get up to go use the bathroom. But when she first got up, she's hearing something outside of her tent running around. Like, it could have been deer, because, deer come around there and walk pass through camps and everything. I've had deer pass through the camp while we're all awake, But so she's talking about hearing these footprints. But, then she heard what sounded like heavier footfall, like something actually literally running on 2 feet.
Yeah.
And then, she was trying to make sense of all this. And then all of a sudden, something, whatever, the way she described it, I actually have this written down. She actually wrote this down too, even though she talked about it before. Whatever she said, it was just feet away when she heard multiple whoops, whoops, whoop. Something was whooping at her. Like they knew she was there, like they were there. Now, David, her husband, David never woke up. David, she said she swore David's leg was dead to the world. He never woke up for nothing. I was like, wow. And then the dog, they had Luna, the German Shepherd, with them. It's like she never barked or nothing, but Melissa said she was alerted to what was there. She was just didn't bark, which I was like, I don't know. That's weird because most dogs, you would think they would react more to that. She was a pup still, but yeah, I don't know if that had to do anything with it, but I mean, she's just turned 2 years old, just a week ago. So but like I said, that incident. I believe was like a little over a year ago. So it might have been a couple of years ago. I can't remember for sure, but yeah, Melissa claimed and talked about getting whooped at right there. I mean, in my main research area, there's all kinds of weird crap that happens out there. But we're actually in another area that's closer to the West Virginia line right now, where I've always heard a lot of down low reports from hunters and hikers and like when I say hunters, I'm talking about like bear hunters that have witnessed and seen things out here. And there's a lot of reports and information that I've learned about this location that you'll actually never hear about on the BFRO because a lot of people out in this particular area they don't speak out to the public like that. They don't know much about all that stuff. These are your typical country mountain folk. So, but
yeah,
so for sure, absolutely. But yeah, so we're focusing in this area. We had some interesting things here back in October when we last camped out. So I'm anxious and curious to see how things are going to play out come May when we're out there again in May. So yeah, we got a group camp out May 18th through the 24th. So
nice.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
very cool.
Yeah. You get out camping much, or I guess it depends on your schedule and how things work out for you, right?
Yeah. We actually, Manimal, we have a group camp out scheduled at the LBL for March. March
Okay.
14th and 15th. We'll be out there. December, I think 12 of us got together here in my neck of the woods. It was actually one of our research areas is Big Frog Mountain. It's in Tennessee. I always make the joke that from this area, you can stand in Tennessee, throw a rock into Georgia, and pee into North Carolina.
That's pretty good.
You're right there in the corner of those 3 states.
Wow.
It's the Cherokee National Forest, basically.
Oh, okay. I've been by that general area before. Yeah. I probably driven through there, headed down to South Carolina on taking the way whatever highway I take to get down there. I know I've seen the sign for all that.
It's right on the Ocoee River, and for some of your listeners, if you're familiar with that area, the Ocoee River is where you remember it was 96 when the Olympics were in Atlanta. Well, there's not a lot of streams going through Atlanta. So that's where they held like the kayaking events and stuff for the Olympics. So it's a really beautiful, cool little stretch of whitewater rapids that go through there. And you hit this one section and it's really cool. There's this row of flags, and every country that participated in the Olympics in 96 has a flag represented running through there. So it's a beautiful area. Really cool. If any of your listeners are nearby, I can go check it out. It's a cool place. Again, that's the Ocoee River, but Big Frog Mountain is where we did that investigation. We do a lot of stuff up there. We camp there a lot. Like I said, we got the one coming up in LBL in March. I do my big event every year is the Squatch Out. This year will be our 5th one. It should be our 6th, but personal stuff. A couple years ago, I had to take the year off. I had a lot of stuff going on personally, but yeah, this last year, I think we had around 50 people show up from 12 different states. Farthest one out was Colorado. Guy flew in. Had a guy drove up from south of Miami. Him and his son came up. Yeah, 12 different states. People came to camp out with us for 3 days and just hang out. We don't do a whole lot of organized expeditions during it. It's not that kind of event.
Right.
You're welcome to go out on your own and look. Not by yourself. We do not allow that. You go out in teams with multiple people, but that's up to you. If you want to go out and walk around, check out the area, that's fine. But that's not what this event's about. It's about getting like-minded people in the community together to meet, network, and just swap stories and enjoy nature. But that's called the Squatch Out, the East Tennessee Squatch Out, and that's always held in September. So the 5th one will be this year. But yeah, in between then, man, I'm camping every chance I get. Being the father of a toddler, I don't get a whole lot of time as much as I used to. But yeah, every chance I get, I'm out there. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to. I mean, I would love to get that little guy out there now, but he would have to be behave a little bit better. Like, I don't need him running out and sneaking out, of the tent. You want to be able to trust him that he's going to know enough to understand that he's got to stay with you.
Exactly. But now that I was just talking about the Squatch Out, I remember I invited you last year to speak at the Squatch Out, but it was late notice and you weren't able to make it. So the invitation's there if you want to come. I know you're in Virginia and this is in Tennessee. That would be a long haul for you. But we have speakers at the event. Last year we had Lori Wade. And Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress.
Oh, okay. Speaking of Jessica Jones, I'm waiting for her to get back to me because she's supposed to. We were supposed to reschedule our group thing yesterday. She never got back to me.
She is an awesome lady. She is a ball of energy. She does not disappoint. She got up there and gave just an awesome talk and had everybody just on the edge of their seat. Anytime you get to hang out or do anything with Jessica Jones, do it. Same with Lori Wade. Lori Wade does all the BFRO investigations here in Tennessee and Georgia. She's a good friend of mine. She's an awesome lady as well. A couple of great ladies. But yeah, man, the invitation's up to you. If you can make it down here in September, I'd love to have you come.
Okay, so you said that's September is a group camp out?
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I'm scheduled September. I don't think I'm scheduled for anything in September.
It's usually the weekend after. Is it Labor or Memorial Day? Whichever one of those is in September. It's the weekend after.
Because I'm thinking September. I'm really thinking September is clear right now. I mean, I'm not June, July, August, September. I have things written down, but I'm trying to figure off the top of my head. Like September should be clear. I don't have nothing going on until October. Because October for the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival, I'm scheduled to speak there again. So
Yeah, when in October is that, Daniel?
that is, if I'm not mistaken, October 11th and 12th in Westminster, South Carolina. So what's interesting about that, it kind of like along the lines when you were talking about how close Georgia and the other states were from your, the one area. When I go down there to South Carolina, now I didn't realize Georgia, or depends on what the part of Georgia, how close Georgia actually is from Westminster. Because we get a lot of people that come to that event, and they like to share their stories and their reports, and I'm like, I'm excited because hey, I'm down here already. Like, hey, after we're done at the festival, hey, let's go meet up. I want to see this spot, But that's what a group of us we have enough time to where we want to dedicate some time to if there's some fresh reports or if you're in a squatchy area where there's been sightings, we want to go there. We want to hang out there, But so I've learned of these spots and I get to talking to these people. They're like, oh yeah, that happened. I live in Georgia, and I'm only like 10 minutes from here or 15 minutes from here. I was like, what? I was
Damn,
like, well,
I didn't realize I was that close.
yeah, I didn't realize either, but that's what these people say. They're like 10 to, they're like 10 minutes away. How close Georgia is from where the festival is,
Yeah.
So, I mean, when they go down there, they usually put us up in this cabin. Well, I call it a cabin. It's a really nice looking house. It looks like a cabin on the inside, but it's, a really nice, cool looking fancy cabin, whatever you want to call it. But we have fun. Yeah, something. Yeah, it's got 3 different levels. I mean, the main bedroom's downstairs, and you got these other side rooms upstairs and stuff. But everything's made out of what a log home would be made of. So, it's got a nice spiral staircase. I mean, I've always posted pictures of it and stuff. But yeah, that area there, even though there's a couple other houses here and there around it, is also surrounded by a lot of woods. So, we do try to take advantage of sitting outside and listening. We'll have a bonfire in the backyard, at the fire pit. I mean, where they put us up in lodging, it's about a good 15, 20 minutes from where the festival takes place. So sometimes we get other people to follow us back out there, a lot of times, a lot of us will get together. Either we'll meet up at one of the restaurants right there off of Main Street where the festival is, because there's a couple of restaurants that we like to sit in there and relax. Or sometimes, some of the times we're down there, we'll plan, like a group of us, we'll plan like, hey, we're going to make dinner at the cabin. Like so-and-so bought some stuff. They want to make dinner for everybody. So, we kind of do that too. Like, hey, we invite others. Hey, we're going to have all this extra food. Come on over, So, but yeah. So we always end up making a shindig dinner for everybody, or whoever wants to join us and meet us at the restaurant that we choose that a group of us want to meet up with. So it's always a good time. Yeah. So yeah.
Always is.
Yeah, absolutely. We do the same thing up here in Virginia. We just started doing the 2-day event thing here. My event is Friday and Saturday. Fridays tend to be the slower day. Saturday is the main day where everybody's off of work and ready to go out and have fun with the family. So yeah, bring it on, But even after that long day, I'll already talk in advance to a few people, let them know, hey, tonight after we're done, after everything's cleaned up, we're gonna go to such and such place and meet up with everybody and eat, So you're welcome to come. We always throw the invite out there. I always make sure all the speakers know about it. Look, I said we're inviting you. We all want to do something together. If it's in your budget, come out. I can't pay for you, but So it's like the invite's there. Just come on out and enjoy yourself with everybody. And because there's people that want to follow. Even some of the people that attend this event, we get people like, hey, are you guys doing anything after the event? I'm like, maybe. Why? I was like, who you want to invite? We don't want a whole buzz. We don't want tons of people to come out, but usually 15, 20 of us top. We usually have a fairly decent amount. Who knows? This year we might come back to come back over to my place and do a fire in the backyard. We did that with a few of us last year. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, keep it simple because my father he he loves having company. So we'll make a fire in the backyard. Bring if you drink, bring your own beer. So stuff like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we do. I mean, yeah. Sorry if that went off. I don't know. I forget where I was going with all that. I think I kind of went off board with some, I don't know. Went off trail there for
that's fine.
yeah.
I mean that's what happens when you just start talking. That's the kind of interview I do on my show. It's a conversation, and
right.
That's what this has been. So I think those are the best ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you think of one thing and it leads to another, and then and the audience is like, "What are these idiots talking about today?" So I don't know. We like to have fun, and that's what I tell people. You got to have fun, So it is what it is. So, so I tell you what, I'm going to come to a close here because I know you've got a lot going on this evening, and you need to get ready for it as well. And I definitely want to have you on here as, like I said, we do roundtable talks. We get into all kinds of stuff. It's almost basically what we did tonight, but with a couple extra people. So
yeah, very cool.
So I definitely make sure we can schedule to get you back on here again in the near future. Couple of the other people that like to sit in on my discussions, they will. I don't know I think you might know. He's one of my speakers this year. Mr. John Stasko. Yeah.
I've had John on.
Yeah, he is a talker. So be prepared. I'm sure you already know this.
John is a talker. I have had him on a couple of times, but he's been around for a while though. He's got some stories to tell.
Yeah, I met him when I was staying up in Pennsylvania, and actually I've organized in small little groups, little seminars at the local bars and breweries up there, and had him come out and do a short little presentation, and so that's how I got to know him there. And then when I hosted my event up in Pennsylvania, my Myths and Legends festival I had going up there, he was one of my speakers up there. So
cool.
So yeah, I got pretty familiar with him and everything, and I mean his stories are pretty cool. I gotta say, So, but he's excited that he's coming down to my June event this year. Him and his wife are coming down, and we'll see how that goes. I told him, my MC that knows him very well, you better watch and babysit him every minute and make sure he cuts off when he needs to, because we got other people ahead of him, And I told John this. I said, you got to really watch your time, man, because I was like, I don't want to. I had Todd. Todd Neese, right? Well, was that
Todd just yesterday? Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I got his email for his invite for the final Beachfoot, and I was like, man, I wish I could. I can't afford that stuff.
Yeah.
But so long story short, Todd was one of my speakers a couple years ago, and loved having Todd out here. And I was in a different area. I wasn't in the room where he was doing his presentation. I was out in the main hall. Somebody came and got me and looked 100, caught up with me. It's like, yeah, they were getting frustrated because there was other speakers that were waiting to speak. And I didn't know this, but he had gone, I don't know, almost 45 minutes over his hour,
Todd,
we give he didn't realize it. But everybody's supposed to only get an hour time. We give them an hour tops, and it was going on for 2 hours. I said, really? I had no idea because I was so busy talking with other people. So I had to go in there.
You need an MC, man. You need an MC for the event.
The North Carolina Squatch Watchers were my MC. They're the ones that were complaining because they couldn't get him to stop. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, because they were sitting right up next to where the speakers were doing their presentations. Yeah, so yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, so I was like, damn it, the Squatch Watchers can't even stop him. I was like, I said, I'll do what I can. I walked in there down the side of the audience, and I literally actually had to walk right up to him. So I was staring right at him with my hands crossed in front of me, keeping a smile, looking at everyone. When he finally came, I was like, I did the signal with my hand, swiping across my throat, So finally, I think he picked up on it. And yeah, the Squatch Watchers or whoever else was scheduled to speak after him were Yeah, they were kind of like frustrated. So I was like, it was out of my control. I mean, I get their thing. I was like, they want to be able to have enough time to speak and share what they want to talk about, you know. So
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But it worked out. So, but I tell you what, before we go, is there anything that you want to throw out there and share to the public, where you might want to direct them to something or any kind of advice? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a few things. As you've heard me mention, I'm the founder and president of Manimal Research. If you would like to get involved with my organization, get out and do some research and stuff like that, come to some of our campouts, check out our website, manimalresearch.org. I am also the host of Paranormal Odyssey podcast. We do live shows every Tuesday and Saturday on YouTube. That's why we're having to cut this one off here right now, because it's currently Saturday night, and I've got to get ready for my Saturday interview tonight. But yeah, I'm also the co-host of That Bigfoot podcast with Mr. Brian King Sharp, who is the host of Sasquatch Odyssey. You can find both of those podcasts anywhere that you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, just Google, anywhere. We are literally everywhere. I'm speaking at a couple events this year. Missouri Ozark Bigfoot Conference. That is in October 4th, I believe. There's also a camp out. Had an awesome time at that event last year, doing it again this year, and I hope they have me back year in and year out, because it's just a phenomenal time. Please check that out if you're in the area. Also, I am speaking in Ohio at the Spirit of the Forest Bigfoot Conference, also in October. So got a pretty busy September and October, but yeah, I hope that's not too much for y'all. If you can check all that stuff out, I would greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, one thing I did not do tonight, you guys, if you listen to the previous episodes and the podcast that we have, we promote all the upcoming events that I'm speaking at, and then there's others that I'm not speaking at, but we will have an updated commercial ad for that in the near future. So if you want to know about any upcoming events, feel free and stay tuned to the very end of the show. I will play that commercial ad. It will be updated soon. So first of all, I want to thank you, Wayne, man, this has been great. Again, we will have you on here very soon in the near future in our next roundtable talk, because I got a couple people wanting to jump on board doing a roundtable talk again. So maybe you'll have better luck getting contact with Jessica Jones, because she don't like to look at her messages too much unless I try to tag her in a post or something. I hate doing it that way, but I know she's busy. I feel like a pain in the butt trying to contact her, but
She's a very, very busy lady. And yeah, man, I appreciate I appreciate the opportunity. Always fun hanging out with you. Those of you that don't know, I always throw this out anytime Daniel and I do anything together and hang out. Daniel was one of the very first people that I reached out to when I started my organization and started doing shows on YouTube. He was one of my first guests. He's always been there to answer questions and help me out any way that he can. And Daniel's just an awesome dude. So I appreciate everything that you do, buddy. I really do.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that. And your check's in the mail for saying that. Thank you. No, good deal, man. No, seriously, I really do appreciate those kind words. So, and yeah, I mean, we're all in this, we love what we do. It's educational. It's educational for us, being on the receiving end of, hearing these reports, and we take notes, and and we love to share our opinions and our knowledge as we learn, so.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me on, buddy.
Absolutely. You have a good evening, and until next time, man. Thank you again.
All right. See you, bud.
All right. Bye-bye. ECBRO, Bigfoot Radio fans. It's time to grab your pens, your calendars, and start writing down these dates for these upcoming events in the 2025 year. February 8th, the ECBRO is hosting a Bigfoot and Lunch gathering in Lexington, Virginia, happening at the legendary Eats Cafe. If you have a Bigfoot story, or if you're just a fan of Bigfoot and you want to learn what's going on with the ECBRO and find out who they are and what they do, this event's for you. It's a free event. The only thing that's going to cost you if you want to buy off the menu and enjoy a delicious meal while you sit among other researchers. All right, moving ahead, in the month of March 29th is the Penn, Ohio Paranormal Con, happening at the Tiffany Banquet Center in Brookfield, Ohio. Yes, that is also sponsored and hosted by Mr. Bill Rigby. All right, jumping ahead into the month of June. Boy, do we have some awesome stuff going on in June. Again, I hope you're marking this down, and I hope you prepare yourself to attend these events. June 6th, 7th, and 8th, happening in Marionville, Pennsylvania, the Forest County Bigfoot Festival. The event that's grown so huge, it's unbelievable. You're going to want to attend this event. Over 100 vendors, food trucks, and guest speakers. This event is something you want to attend. Not to mention, if you like to go squatching, there is the Allegheny National State Forest nearby. You're going to want to check that forest out. It's very squatchy. June 20th and 21st, happening in Wares Cave, Virginia, at the Wares Cave Community Center, is the annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Yes, it's right there being held at the Community Center in Wares Cave, Virginia. Both indoor and outdoor vendors, guest speakers, fun activity and contests for the kids. You're going to want to check this out. If you've never been to this event, it's very fun. You get to meet up with other like-minded people, get to go out and hang out with them in the evenings around a fire. If you get that special invite, you get to have a lot more. You're going to want to check that out and start becoming a part of that event, because that is not just an event. It's like a family gathering. That's June 20th and 21st. So feel free to check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, happening in the month of June, also, June 26th, 27th, and 28th, happening in Sutton, West Virginia, is the annual West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. Another massive, huge festival with over 100 vendors, all kinds of activity and fun and contests for kids and people of all ages. Guest speakers, celebrities, people you're going to want to get to know and get to meet and learn from. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are taking the time to mark these dates and these locations down. If you have any questions regarding any of these events, send an email to ecbro98@gmail.com. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and choosing ECBRO Bigfoot Radio as your destination. We have more shows coming up in the near future. Continue to follow and share our content. The more we grow, the more we can produce. We believe in spreading awareness and spreading knowledge and so much more. Keep it squatchy, my friends. This is your host, Daniel Benoit, founder of the ECBRO, the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. And until next time.